What exactly your job is as a technical architect? Like for the people who are not aware of what exactly a technical architect does.
Yeah, so I think so. Basically, I kind of think of an architect. Well, I'd say an architect in general, because you can be a business architect, you could be a technical architect, and I think Salesforce doesn't really talk about business architecture, which is, I think, completely crazy. But essentially, there's multiple different types of architect, and a technical architect, I think of somebody that has like a mile-wide knowledge of Salesforce, for example, but potentially only 3 feet deep across everywhere, but then might go very deep in certain areas. So you kind of know how to architect a solution at a kind of high level, I suppose, but also you kind of you can't not know about other technologies and integrations and the best ways to integrate into Salesforce using other kind of platforms. So I'm doing a project at the moment with Snowflake and kind of a data warehouse and the best way of kind of getting data in and out. So Salesforce can contribute to this kind of data lake, I suppose. And that's what I kind of think an architect is. And you're kind of essentially on the project to make sure as best as you can, make sure the project is successful now and going forward. You're not putting in technical debt. You're designing it for the future, basically, as much as you can. And you're kind of setting that kind of architecture scope and principles around how you should develop. So, perfect example now is workflows and process builders are essentially going to be kiboshed. Therefore, the principle of making sure that everything now is a flow, for example. And actually, sometimes I have on a project, I'll set a principle as don't use cloud computing, because every project, I want to make sure the business justifies why they're using it so they know the value in it. Mm-hmm. So it's not telling them not to use it. It's just I want to make sure they're absolutely sure they understand what it is and the reasons for using it. And that, it meets the needs of the business. So if that makes sense, yeah. So it's just not forgotten, basically.
It's not for?
So you don't forget it. So they don't lose the reason why they're using Salesforce or using these cloud platforms to kind of innovate and be, successful on it. So.
And you just said business architect, and Salesforce doesn't talk about business architect. Would you like to throw some light on that?
Yeah. So I don't know why, because I always think of Salesforce as it's a business tool. The most successful projects in Salesforce that I work on are basically when it's being run by the business and not IT. Yeah. Because you can kind of get lost in the tech and you can start building loads of stuff that the users just don't need. And actually only 10% is what they need. And without that kind of business focus, then you can get lost very easily. You can get suddenly millions of Jiras stacking up of stuff that people want, but you're not actually then pushing the boundaries of the platform and actually getting a much bigger business value. So the business architect is kind of, and even actually in technical architecture, you're looking at, okay, what is the current state? So in the technical world of that technical landscape, so all the different systems, all the things that are kind of interconnected, and then what the future state's going to be. So where do we want to be? So we've got 2 data centers with a load of servers in it. We want to move to the cloud. Okay, that's the goal, but you've got lots of it's an iterative process to get to that end goal. So it's those kind of creating those architectures and principles to get to that end goal and making sure kind of the architecture is followed. But in the same way, a business architect is doing that with a business lens on. It's understanding, okay, where is the business right now? Okay, we've got 50 different sites across Europe, all selling different things. We want to get to the point where we have a centralized sales call center, for example. So we can centralize these products because they're simple products to sell. So the sites can focus on the more complex, bigger value kind of sales, for example. So You know what that end goal for the business is, the vision, or that move to a new industry or whatever it is. And you know what the current state of how the business is set up, how many people you've got in sales, how many people you've got in sales support. And know to get to this end goal, you've got to transition the business to this new way of working, and putting in, again, those transitional architectures in so the business can move and transform into this new world. So COVID, perfect example, it was a massive driver to digital transformation, and lots of businesses had to do this literally overnight. But it's something that traditionally would have happened over several years, moving to this kind of more digital way of working. So yeah, and that's the difference. So, but Salesforce is so much, you get a lot of lift and shift projects into Salesforce, where this is what we do, we lift and shift and put it into Salesforce, and you lose the benefit of the platform and all that kind of stuff out of the box and best practice and automation that you just get. So aligning the technical architecture with the business architecture and actually have a business focus, absolutely critical in my opinion, and why there should be more focus on it.
Do you think this role should be played by someone completely different from the technical architect or the consultant or the scrum master involved into that particular project or the product?
Yeah. I think it's got to be from the business. It's got to come from the business. It's got to be somebody that understands where the business is going. But essentially, it works part and parcel with the technical architect. It's there. We're architecting the tech, moving away from this legacy data center, if that's what the move is, in the same way the business is moving as well. And they both have to kind of be aligned. Otherwise, hey, we want to get rid of, everybody's got to go on the road and start selling. But they can only access the application from their computers in the office. Doesn't work, so everything, you need to align it, so.
Do you think project managers can do that, or you need a different kind of skill set rather than just being a project manager in order to do this?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is definitely a different skill set, because it's not managing a project. Same with the architecture. You need to know how to manage change, but in that business approach of, so the CEO is saying, we need to centralize everything, I don't know, or move into this industry. And then for the business architect, you could have a lot of people that are only trained in this other industry. So what do you do? Do you get rid of them and rehire lots of people? Do you cross-train them into the new industry? There's lots of complexities around how you transition that business. So, which, it is a specialist kind of skill in the same way a technical architect is. So.
Got it. Do you think we can do anything about it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think because Salesforce is so much front line of the business, and to be honest, and this is why I kind of think it's not, we're not talking, we don't have to manage the database structure. Obviously it's a cloud computing platform. So a lot of that tech is taken away from us naturally anyway. So we're naturally closer to the business. So in that way, I think there's more opportunity for people to move into business architecture, because they understand and they're a lot closer to the users using Salesforce than you would be as a database administrator or a lower level, a lot further away from the customer. So in that respect, it's a lot easier, I think, for somebody working in Salesforce to transition into business architecture, because you understand the business, you understand the business processes, you know what the current state is, and you know potentially where they want to get to. So and you also kind of know the tech as well. So it's a perfect synergy of knowing, being able to help the business move and to achieve their goals or where they want to get to in 5 years or 3 years or whatever it may be.